Hey everyone, welcome back to the course. In this video, we're going to talk about the system administrator job role. So we'll talk about what a system administrator is. We'll talk about some of the common job responsibilities that you might do as a system admin. We'll also talk about some of the common skills that you're going to need to be successful at the job. We'll talk about common certifications that a sysadmin might have. And we'll also talk about the general salary range for sysadmins. With salary range on all of these videos, I just want to make note that these can vary and they can vary significantly based off where you live in the world, as well as where you live in your country and the particular company, as well as the particular responsibilities of the job role. So you'll see kind of a bigger range for a sysadmin on the salary. And just know that it doesn't mean that you're going to get a salary in that range. You could get less, you could even get more. It's just kind of a guideline for you to understand how lucrative this particular job role might be if you're interested in it. So, what is a system administrator or sysadmin? Well, basically, these are the individuals that are responsible for the infrastructure of the organization's technology. So, they're responsible for things like the configuration of different systems, maintaining those systems on a day to day basis. In some instances, a sysadmin might also be doing some help desk type of work, depending on the size of the organization. But generally speaking, they're the server people. They're the people in there doing the infrastructure type of work and not necessarily answering the phone for the help desk roles. These are also working with different endpoints besides just servers. So, what are some of the common responsibilities you might have as a sysadmin? Well, number one being automation. So, you don't want to do every single task possible manually. So, you're going to be responsible for figuring out what you can actually automate to either speed things up or to save your time where you can go work on other things. Patch management is a very, very important part of it, making sure that you're keeping software up to date, making sure that you're identifying once if you've got a security team at your organization, making sure that once they identify vulnerabilities and they say, "Hey, update this software, apply these patches," that you actually do it as a sysadmin. And if you're at a smaller company where you're kind of handling all that stuff, where you're the sort of Jack or Jane of all trades, making sure that you have a good patch management process in place, performing things like server health checks, just making sure that there's no maintenance needed and making sure if something needs replaced that it is getting replaced. Same thing if you're using the cloud environment at your organization, making sure that you're checking all your cloud infrastructure and making sure things are up to date. Performing backups of systems and being able to restore from backups, especially when we're talking about things like disaster recovery, making sure that the applications are compatible with other applications as well as the infrastructure you have in place. An example of this is a healthcare company I used to work at a long time ago. They were a smaller organization and they were looking to move to the cloud. And what they found was that one of the applications, which was a pharmacy application, wasn't compatible with later versions of Windows Server, and the later versions of Windows Server were required to actually implement the cloud environment. So they had to figure out a new solution for the pharmacy software, and that way they could actually transition most of their infrastructure to the cloud. So as a sysadmin, you just need to make sure that you're testing and identifying if there's any compatibility issues of those different applications. And then of course, hardening systems, right? So going back to things like patch management, removing services we don't need, removing processes we don't need, locking down user accounts. So if we don't need someone to have administrative access, we make sure they don't have administrative access. So all of these are some common responsibilities for a sysadmin. So what about skills? What are some common skills? Well, it's good to have an understanding of networking. You don't have to be at the level of like a network architect necessarily as a sysadmin, but you really need to understand how data is flowing across the network so you can identify how you can best help protect it. And again, at smaller organizations, I worked in a blended role where it was sysadmin work, engineer slash admin work slash architect work. It was also security work as an analyst work, as well as pen testing. Like it was kind of a jack of all trades, so to speak, role. So at a smaller company, you might be doing a lot of this stuff. So it's important to build that skill set for yourself so you can be more successful in the role. Also, we talked about patch management, right? So you need to be comfortable with implementing patches both on a test network and then also rolling them out to production and identifying if there's any issues with the patch in the production environment, being comfortable performing backups and also recovering from those backups, being comfortable with different operating systems. So things like Linux, Windows, to some extent Mac, but primarily in the enterprise environment, Windows and Linux. Some scripting skills are helpful for the automation part of things. So you can automate different tasks you're doing. It's also good to have experience in the command line, as well as experience with PowerShell. So if you're going to be working with Windows Server, which a lot of bigger companies are working with, in fact, most companies I know of off the top of my head are working with Windows Server environments, at least in some capacity. So PowerShell is going to be an important part of that as well. And understanding virtualization and building a skill set, uh, probably not so much with like VirtualBox, but mostly with VMware in the typical enterprise environment, as well as in some instances Hyper-V. And then understanding more cloud related things, so building skill sets in that, so things like containers, Kubernetes, et cetera, and understanding different cloud environments like AWS, Azure, and even Google Cloud, as well as depending on the size of your organization, it's a good idea for you to build some skill set in intrusion detection, monitoring, and intrusion detection prevention, firewalls, et cetera, et cetera. So kind of more of the security side of things, but just understanding how those things work can really help you as a sysadmin. So, what about certifications? Well, there's a whole lot of different ones you might see a sysadmin get, including A plus, which I don't have listed here, but that's typically more a help desk type of thing, and that's why it's not on my list. So, Azure Administrator Associate is a cloud cert for where Microsoft kind of went is they're on more of the job role certifications now. So they've taken away things like the MCSA, which was the Microsoft Certified Systems Admin, or they also took away the MCSE, which was the uh, systems engineer, the Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer. So they've taken away those. They've gone for more of the work role type of thing. So Azure Administrator Associate is one search you might want to get as a sysadmin. Of course, some of your fundamental certs like Network Plus, Linux Plus, even Security Plus to understand from the security side of things. If you're working with a lot of virtualization and you're interested in getting a certification around that, VMware does have a certified professional cert, and there are some people that get that as well that work as sysadmins. And then, of course, Red Hat Linux certification. So the Red Hat Certified System Administrator is another one as well. Again, for most tech roles, you don't have to have certifications, but some of these are good to have to kind of get your foot in the door and get past that HR filter that we usually see. So let's talk about salary now. So you notice the range here in the US is pretty wide, right? 50,000 up to over 160,000. In fact, there's a few sysadmins I know that they're very experienced though. These are not entry level. They're very experienced and they're making a little over 220 base salary right now. So yes, you can make it's lucrative. You can make a good amount of money. Realistically, starting out, you're probably looking at the 50,000 range, maybe 40,000 depending on the size of the company, maybe up to like 60 or 70 if it's a larger enterprise. So again, it's a big range. It a lot depends on your skill set, your experience, and also your ability to negotiate in an interview. So don't forget about those soft skills in any of these roles that we discuss in this course. Soft skills like negotiation skills, negotiating your salary, extra vacation time, whatever. Those things are important. Communication skills are very important as well. So, just a quick quiz question here for you. Common skills that are needed as a sysadmin include which of the following ones? Is it networking? Is it hardening of systems? Or is it disaster recovery? All right, so if you guessed all of them, you are correct, right? Again, you want to have a good understanding of networking and how data flows across a network. You also want to be able to harden systems and make them stronger against attack to help try to mitigate some of the attacks you might face. And also, you need to understand how to both perform backups and restore from backups in the context of disaster recovery. So in this video, we talked about what a sysadmin is. We also talked about some of the common skill set and common responsibilities you may have as a sysadmin. We also talked about some of the common certifications, and we talked about the general salary range for a sysadmin role as well.